All right, everybody, we've got head coach Pat Noonan following FC Cincinnati's 3-2 win over the Chicago Fire. Coach, if you just want to start with your thoughts on tonight's win.
I would say opportunistic is what comes to mind, and a lot of that had to do with the first half performance. I thought Chicago was in control and much better, and so to go into halftime at 2-1, we felt, certainly as far as the score line, we were fortunate, but I think in the second half, we were able to just have more composure with the ball. So I said to them at halftime, if we can't deal with pressure, then the game's going to be challenging because they're good with the ball and they're moving us around, and we're not able to get into any attacking structure. And then defensively, we weren't able to get organized quickly enough. So I thought all of that was much improved in the second half and allowed us to be more decisive with how we attacked and also more decisive in how we were able to defend. So, but again, Chicago was very strong tonight, so we can't lose sight of that. We're very happy about the result.
Carter. Pat, congratulations on the victory. I wanted to ask about the kind of final moments of the game, particularly after the penalty kick and maybe changes the complexion of the match. How did you feel like your group defended in those last minutes, especially when things got chaotic?
Well, we didn't concede, which is the ultimate goal, but you try to take away the chaos of the end of a game when you're on the road and a team's throwing a lot at you, and you're going to have to defend numbers forward. You're going to have to defend the box, and I thought we did that in a pretty good way, maybe more than you'd like as far as guys putting their bodies on the line, blocking shots. That we did well, but it's getting control the ball and being comfortable enough to not just kick the ball up the field and say, okay, this is how we can break this pressure, or this is how we have to move ahead of the ball to be able to be an option to then relieve that pressure and move up the field with space. And so those are some of the things that, we'll talk about. But there was also some really good moments when we did get that right and we had a lot of space to attack in transition. So, we protect a 1-goal lead in a stressful, I would say, couple minutes, 10-minute stretch, but that's something these guys have been pretty good about all year.
You kind of mentioned this a little bit. This is maybe the closest the group has looked to fully available all season. It didn't exactly play out that way with Matt and Luka, but this is about as close as it's been. Are you starting to see the performances reflect the fact that all those guys are back together in training, and is it starting to, even if it's not trending in the right direction?
Yes and no. It's still too early because this is now the first, game that Matt starts. It's the first game that back line combination has started a game together, and then you're looking at Evander back in the mix after a couple games out. Luka took a knock before the game, and he was able to give us some really important minutes in the second half, but we need, I think, more time training with a full group and more games to see what we're about and what growth looks like for the team. But I'll continue to say it. I think we got a lot to work on, and that's, I think, something that everybody's aware of. We're so far from a finished product, and to get results in the short term is always good for confidence. And I'm excited to see what the coming weeks look like if we can stay healthy.
On Matt, can you talk about the decision to start him rather than maybe use him as a reserve, especially in his minutes last week?
We knew 45 was probably going to be the max, so allowing him a warm-up, allowing him to work with Miles and Nick and feel the early stages of a game, we thought that was important. And we weren't going to get, too caught up in what the game or the score looked like as far as pushing him too far. It was 45 minutes. Let's be diligent with that and be happy that we've got to this point and look to build on that in the coming weeks. So that was the idea with Matt.
rested.
Coach, you were mentioning that Chicago was a tough team to go against. How tough was it to come in here and get a victory?
Well, as you saw from the game, there was long stretches where, especially in the first half, they were moving us around. I think how we dealt with some of the movements into the wide spaces, we didn't get that right with our wingbacks and our midfielders. How we could make it a little bit more clear and be a little bit more patient with our press from the front line. I think that got better, but still, it can't take to halftime to make adjustments. So they were good with the ball, and they were good with breaking our pressure in different ways. And then we had to defend really well in 1v1 moments out wide, and then we had to defend the box well. That's what I think we did in a majority of that first half. But it's a good team. Greg's doing a good job, and they're moving in the right direction.
I know Kuipers got free and got an opportunity to get that one goal.
Yep.
But did you do something differently in the second half to keep them away from the goal?
How we wanted to deal with some of the midfield movements out wide, where Gutierrez was popping up into some spots. We were getting confused in a few situations early on, and too many guys were getting pulled out of position. So how can we get our wingbacks to stay wide and release into advanced positions, and then how can we get Pavel and Brian to stay more central and move with the play in ways where we weren't getting pulled out of our shape. I think that got better, and as a result, it didn't allow Kuipers and really their entire front line to continue to work off of our back line into space where they had a lot of room to either control the ball or find midfield support movements and then switch play, and that's where I think we got better.
We'll go to the Zoom now, and Laurel Failer. Laurel, you can go ahead.
Thank you. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
Obviously, Evander had the 2 goals. How important was it to see him be able to come back from the injury and have an impact like that?
It was refreshing. He's somebody with his movements, with his composure, with his vision. We got to find ways to continue to play through him because he opens up the game for us. And he was, for me, one of the bright spots in the first half as far as somebody that was able to deal with the pressure. And on top of just how he connects our midfield line, our front line, how he shifts the opponent. That was a constant all night, but then he has the final product where, the first goal, I would say, shouldn't happen. We were, very lucky that we were able to get out in transition in the way we did. And then how he gets, how he finds the goal, it's a deflection, and we get, like I said, we were fortunate. But he's still in good positions to make plays. And then in the second half, you see a couple moments where, he has the ball that he brings across, good timing of his movement, and then the goal, how he's able to change his speed and be deceptive in getting past the defender. All those things, all those details are something that you can't teach all the time. It's just a feel for the game and a feel for the moment, and he has that.
And then with Kevin's goal celebration, honoring Aaron Bupenza, obviously got the yellow card for it. I know you're not supposed to have messages on your shirts and things like
Right.
that, but do you feel like in those situations, maybe they could have a little more grace towards those types of celebrations, or do you have any thoughts on that?
The rule's the rule. So what I'll say is there's yellow cards that you can live with. And, as long as he's not getting sent off, I'm okay with it because of the message of him supporting, a former FCC player. That's for the right reasons. But, the rule's the rule, and he got the yellow card. So, I think I'm okay with both. But obviously, you don't want that to put the player and the team in a tough position as the game progresses with yellow cards like that. So, I guess that's what I have to say about it.
Anything else, Laura? You good?
I'll ask one more if you get
Yeah,
time.
please. Yeah, last one.
Okay. Just I know Brian and Nuga, we've talked about him before and his impact, but just with Obi as he's been out, extended period of time a little bit now. Seemed like he had another good game.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
I think Brian defensively was fairly strong all game long. There was, like I said, some pressing moments where I don't think we got it right on that left side with Brian and Lucas, and they adjusted well in the second half. With the ball, Brian improved as the game went on. I think both him and Pavel, with and without the ball, grew into the game, and specifically in the second half, they were very strong for us. So, Brian's come in and done a really good job, and continues to improve in different ways and be challenged in different ways, where it's given us answers as to the things that he does strong, where our team benefits from him, and areas that we can continue to work with Brian to improve on both sides of the ball. But his mentality is outstanding.
Pat, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.